Okay, here we go. So if you're like me, I'm gonna shut this so my neighbors don't hear me. I constantly am seeing recipes and then I'm like, oh, it's a really good idea for me to cook that one day, maybe never. So I got this recipe from a cooking light at a doctor's office and my ghetto ass ripped it off, and I saved these in like a little folder. This is really good if you are doing a home delivery and they have instructions and little pamphlets. I save all that shit. I think to be a really good chef, you just learn one recipe at a time, get really good at it, and just keep adding to that repertoire. So, big word, watch out. So we're gonna make shiitake mushrooms, which I have mushrooms, probably about 4 to 5 shiitake mushrooms, a pound of, you can do turkey or ground turkey or ground beef. I'm gonna actually go with ground turkey because I only defrosted the ground turkey and not the ground beef. You want half a cup of Parmesan, 1 to 2 zucchinis, salt, pepper, and then for breadcrumbs, I actually always get the Trader Joe's sourdough bread. This is like life. I fucking love this bread so much, especially for avocado toast. Another episode to come. But it's just my husband and I at the house and Teddy Muffin. And so I'll take about half of the loaf of bread and keep it out, and the rest of the half I freeze. Frozen bread stays good for a long time, but you can also use breadcrumbs. And then about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. So we're coming off flu season, you know, everyone's talking about health and whatever, you know, doesn't hurt. Raw garlic is one of the best anti-inflammatories and things to help knock out fungal disease inside your body. So I'm going to start with a pound of the meat. I'm using ground turkey. And what I'm going to do is throw that into a mixing bowl. And so that's going to be basically your little home area. Oh. So let's go here and show you the mixing bowl. So we're going to throw in that. I'm going to cut up these mushrooms and get started on these. You want to make them about like a little smaller than a dime size. Always start with a good knife. The only thing that I wanted for Christmas was a shun Japanese knife. I used to work at Crate and Barrel in college. I'll tell you all my stories throughout these. I am a woman of many stories, but very dull life sometimes. But Japanese shun, they get sharper as you start to use this. This is not sponsored, but fuck, they can hit me up if they want to sponsor me. This one was about $65, $75 for one knife. I know it's a lot, but it's the only thing I pretty much use in the kitchen, and I always dry it right away. It makes me excited to cook. And I do this to my husband whenever he pisses me off. So, let's get chopping. Ooh, new slogan alert, watch out. So I'm gonna start chopping my onion, or chopping my mushrooms, making them pretty small. Again, just like so much joy chopping with this knife. It's incredible. And you want to make them pretty small in the way that you kind of won't notice. Basically what we're doing here is we're extending 1 pound of meat to hopefully 6 to 8 servings. So it kind of extends the meat. We're also going to be doing, I'm going to use 1.5 zucchinis, equal part zucchini to spaghetti. Again, just different ways to keep it healthier. My body doesn't really react to gluten too well. I swear if I never ate gluten, I'd probably be 90 pounds, but I do, so I'm not. If you don't have a garlic press, highly recommend getting one of these bad boys. Garlic presses, most people don't know this, and I just learned recently, you can keep all of the surrounding parts of the garlic wrapped in, doesn't have to be peeled. Put it right into the garlic press and actually push it and it comes through. So you don't have to peel it, it'll do the work for you. I have a very small kitchen. If you can cook in something this size, you can do anything. I'm gonna do about 4 garlics because it's COVID, everything going around. Try to keep the immunity as up and as high as possible. Oh, one of the things you need are 2 eggs as well. So get these going. Something about minced garlic from the garlic press just makes me happy. I was telling the joke today that to use your garlic press, you need really strong wrists. And you know what they say about really strong wrists. That girl probably does a lot of handstands. Get your mind out of the gutter. Come on. Okay, done with the garlic. Leave that there for my husband to do the dishes, which he never fucking does. Okay, let's go. So I'm gonna take 2 eggs, crack those in. What I really like about savory dishes is it's a little bit more forgiving because I'm not big on measuring. Oh, cracked shell went in there. I like to wing it, you know. I'm a wild girl. So 2 eggs go in there. You want to have about a cup of Parmesan. Actually, no, half a cup. You know, the benefit of having a very small kitchen is everything's 1 arm length away. So, fuck all you bitches with large square footage. You can't reach a cup like right now, like I can. Oh, watch out. It's all about being grateful for what you have. Okay, so half a cup of Parmesan. Make sure you have a little bit to sprinkle on top. And then we're going to take the bread. So what I do is I take it in half and then I just kind of grind it through my hands. This might be a lot of work, but like I'm staying green here and trying to use like the whole buffalo. But if you want to just, you know, use your breadcrumbs and half-ass it, you can do that. It's just cheaper this way. It kind of gives it a little bit lighter of a consistency, but it's fucking meatballs, so you're fine. So yeah, I basically do about 2 of those. The main thing is you want to have a consistency to create a meatball that's going to be not too wet, but not too dry. And the bread is what absorbs everything, kind of mushes it all together. The egg helps get the runniness in. Again, if you haven't already, set your oven to 400. We're going to sear these first, and then we're going to bake them for about 20 minutes so they don't burn on the sides. So I'm still grinding down my bread. And a nice little tip too is if you, so I took this out of the freezer, just an FYI, about 4 minutes ago, and it's already defrosted. You never freeze bread. It's a game changer. Especially if you're trying to go gluten-free, but you're making spaghetti meatballs. Your bread's not consumed too fast at your house. So unfortunately I don't have a cameraman, but what I'm doing is grinding down all the bread. I love coming home after like a long day of work, pouring myself a glass of wine. I'm trying not to drink right now. And just cooking and going into my own zone. It's my little therapeutic session by myself. I never really did that before my 30s. And my husband gets the majority of the benefits, minus the dishes. Put on a good album. I'm really into the new Fiona Apple album, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. She's such a badass. Fuck yeah, Fiona. Okay, so breadcrumbs are done. Move this over here. Garlic's done. Let's see. I'm doing everything in my head. I probably should have written it down. I'm not good at that. Oh, a little bit of olive oil. So we're gonna put some olive oil in here. Little bit of salt. That was pepper. And a little bit of salt. I have a little pinch thing because I'm trying to be cooler than I really am. We'll see how it works out. Okay, oven's still going. If you want to throw in some seasoning, like, again, this is a great part of being a savory chef. You can just wing it. I have Italian seasoning. It's like borderline racist, but whatever. So I'm gonna put that in there. Actually, my brother-in-law's Italian. I'll check with him. Rosemary, basil. If you want to spice it up, like with some fresh herbs that you might have that give it a little extra kick, do so. And then this is the fun part. Wash your hands. Even if you just wash them again. You never know who's been picking their nose and touching your utensils. Not naming any names around here, but you know. And then I keep a cutting board right next to the bowl. So this is what it looks like pre-mixed. And the best way to get the meatballs going, oh, super professional status here, is to use your hands. Actually, it's very therapeutic for me. So I put my hands in here. Ooh, and I squeeze the brains. Squeeze them. Ah, oven's ready. Oh, look at that consistency. It's coming together perfectly. After you make this dish about 5 to 10 times, you won't have to use any kind of measurements, ingredients. You kind of just wing it. You'll know when it feels like good enough. Some people like a little bit wetter of a meatball. Sometimes I add Italian sausage in. I don't use veal because baby cows, they're cute. Doesn't really change the consistency that much. And because it's just my husband and I'll take about half of these. I think I told you guys, I'll put them in the fridge or I'll put them in the freezer. And 9 times out of 10, second day or third day meatballs are way better than when you make them from the beginning. I have a lot of recipes that, yeah, I'll go through. I'm sure I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but it's always fun. I literally can watch cooking shows all day long. But it always makes me want to eat. Okay, hands are dirty. Move that over. We have our little cookie sheet. I like these cookie sheets, by the way. My mother-in-law told me this. She recommended these because we have a little pull-out thing. Our kitchen's super small. You know, living that Santa Barbara life. You got to get by somehow. But if you put that on top, the cookie sheet on top of that, then you don't have to like worry about the wood rotting. So anyways, I use those cookie sheets for everything. And then you only have to clean this bit. So I'm gonna make the meatball. I like making the meatball about 1.5 inches wide. They cook really quickly that way. Much bigger, you might have to cook them a little bit longer. And you want all the meatballs to be roughly around the same size because you're gonna cook. Oh, I look really cute today, by the way. Ooh. It's amazing what no makeup does in a pandemic. My skin's so clear. So I make them all about the same size because they're gonna be cooking all together like best friends. Getting warm. Maybe do the roll version. Maybe, one dropped on the ground. No, not really. Maybe pat it. But you wanna get any of the holes away. This should make, well, depending on how big they are, typically about 14 to 18 meatballs, maybe. If you're making them bigger, a little less, obviously. It's pretty easy. I mean, for us, this makes about 3, well, when we're really hungry, 3 individual meals. So if you get a good deal on meat, it's actually pretty cheap. I don't know. I think cooking is all about trying different things all the time and just seeing what works. Doing this almost feels like you're making a dumpling. One thing that is a lot harder to do than it looks. So keeping this together. This is in the video where you just fast forward. So I'll just stop talking. Nah, I love talking. I'm gonna keep talking. And if you notice any parts of the bread that are bigger pieces, you can take them and just crumble them up. World's your oyster. You know, do whatever you need to do. World is your oyster. Maybe doing the rolling effect. My dog's looking at me licking his chops like, I'm gonna get one of those meatballs, you know what I'm saying? Oh God. I feel like you really made it in life if you could just like hang out by yourself and just have a really good time. I always feel like I'm hysterically laughing whenever I'm in a hot tub by myself. at a hotel and people just think I'm really bizarre. But you know what? We're short, whatever. Okay. So, last one. How many did we make? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Oh, I made 10. Wow, I was way off. But normally I add another meat like a sausage or, you know, mixing it up. My favorite combination is Italian sausage, mushrooms, and ground turkey. I don't know why, but it tastes really good. So wash that gunk off your hands. And I'm going to go ahead and just preemptively, that's the best part of the apron, just wipe it off. I'm going to preemptively just put more than half of those away because I don't need all of these tonight. And they're just going to almost like mold into their own and become little pockets of flavor. They're going to taste better the next day, unfortunately. We'll have to wait till then. But for now, we'll have the same day meatballs that aren't as good. I'm putting these in the freezer. And then you just defrost them and we'll get to the cooking bit. Okay, bowl's done. You can also add like some chili peppers, any kind of thing you like that adds spice to it. I love chili peppers. My sister always uses this Trader Joe's onion salt. I think it tastes best with eggs. So next we're gonna be cooking, like searing the meatballs just to get them brown on the outside and start cooking them a little bit. And then we're gonna throw them to the oven. So I like using the same pan for the stovetop and the oven. If you're gonna do that, you can't have any rubber on the side. That's what she said. Anyways, so you wanna make sure your pans are stove appropriate because it's only 400. A lot of pans can fit that criteria. So I'm gonna do a little bit of olive oil. Just coat it nicely. And I have 4 meatballs here. I'm just doing a little bit. So I'm gonna put them right into my pan. And let those cook. You can't even see them now. So they're just gonna sear on here. Maybe I should switch stoves so you can see it. Isn't it true like everyone has like their favorite little stove top area? Mine's that left corner. This one has to be lit. Those ones are all most of the time okay. But this fucker always has to be lit. Oh, can you see now? Oh, cute. Okay. There we go. So we're just gonna let those sear. While we're doing that, let's get a pot of water going. I do about this size when it's just me and my husband. I do even smaller. If you have enough water in there and you're only doing like a little bit of pasta, you really don't need too much water. I know every like Italian person is going to like kill me for saying that, but trust me, I've made a lot of pasta in my day. Look at this. But I use something about this size, especially if I'm going to do the zoodles. I'm going to fill it up about 3/4 of the way. This would be a good time to take a sip of wine. Unfortunately, I'm drinking sparkling water. No wine tonight for me. It's hard to get wasted every night during quarantine and like justify it, so you know, we're working on that. Oh, my kitchen looks a lot cuter than it really is in this angle, so I'm just gonna keep it at this angle. So I'm gonna salt the pasta, or the boiling water. Helps with the noodles not sticking. I don't really know why I salt. I was like told to do it by a couple chefs. A little bit about me. Yeah, so I do tech sales, so I'm always on the phone, always selling, always flying across the country. But before I did tech sales, I sold wine. I'm in the wine industry for about 10 years. A lot of my family's in wine. It's not as glamorous as everyone thinks it is, but you do live like you're rich when you're not really that rich. So gotta fly to a lot of different countries and eat at amazing restaurants, but just dirt poor. Anyways, the whole reason I'm telling you the story is I can give a decent wine recommendation with each one of my cooking videos. You know, the funny thing about wine is, just like anything else, it's like fake it till you make it. I didn't know shit about wine when I was like selling wine and be like, I'd recommend it with this. And the Psalms would always be like, oh, totally. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Idiots. Anyways, yeah, I'm a Psalm now, but it's non-practicing. With this dish, I mean, I'm biased. I like old wines. Anything that has some like funk to it, especially with mushrooms. Yes, please. I would say like a Montepulciano. Anything domestic, maybe like a Pinot, a light Syrah. But this is going to be like, depending on the meat you have, if it's going to be like a little bit spicier, you might want something to offset that. But yeah, take a nice Pinot, something mellow. The mushroom should add a little bit of texture to it. Okay, so that was just a quick little turn and burn, getting them a little sauced up. For some reason, this turkey is very light. So my oven's set for 400. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it in. That's what he said. I'm gonna put it in the oven for 20 minutes because that's a little bit less. I'm maybe gonna do a little bit less, like 17. You want to keep an eye on them, and about halfway through, I'll flip it just so one side doesn't get super burned. So I'm gonna take that nifty little cooking sheet, twist this over here, and then I have a little zoodle maker. So as you can see in my kitchen, it's a little narrow, it's a little small, so ain't nobody got time or space to do a big old zoodle. I saw this thing at Ross and was like, yes please, that's what I'm taking. If you guys have seen this, it's a zoodler that's very small. If you have a bigger one, that's awesome, but probably not necessary. I can't say the brand because no label, sorry. But you want to zoodle the noodle. Where's my knife? Oh, there it is. Okay. So we're gonna cut off that little top, throw it away, or if you have something you can do with it, do with it. And then there's a little hole in here. So if you have something like this, I'm sure Amazon, you know, your local shop might have something, and then you just start spinning. So I actually stay full a lot longer when I incorporate zoodles. I have more energy. I mean, we all love a good bowl of pasta, at least the sane ones of us. But, you know, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so fuck. Gotta add some veggies and try and keep it tight when it's not hard to do, and you know, you're almost 40. But so yeah, these things that are coming out, and these are only gonna have to cook for about a minute, minute and a half. Again, everything, at least for me, I pretty much eyeball and taste along the way. Like with pasta, I do that. I have about 14 minutes left on my meatballs, and my pan is starting to get a little, you can see the little bubbles, a little heated up. So do as many as you like, as little as you like. This is like the gateway drug into eating veggies a little healthier. So when I first started incorporating zoodles, I was really scared. I was like, I don't know about that. So I would start with like maybe this much and throw it in. You really don't taste the difference too much when you have regular pasta in there. The gateway drug, as you get more and more used to it, you feel more and more comfortable adding more and more and more zoodles until all of a sudden maybe one day it's carb free. I'm not there yet. My journey has just begun. So I keep adding it. Oh shit, I've already done only half, and that's pretty much all I need right now. So if you can see, it's about a little more than a cup. I always get the little, here's a little stunner. I don't know why I think it's so funny. I always give it to my dog. Teddy! Teddy, come! He's like, fuck you, Mom. Teddy, come! Introducing Teddy Muffin! Teddy, come. Sit. Half the time he eats it, half the time he doesn't. Don't burn yourself. This is Teddy. He looks like a real life teddy bear. He's kind of a dick. You want it? And didn't pass the test today. Well, it's there if you want it later on. Okay. So this is pretty much bedtime. This is when you have another glass of wine. Just because I'm an amazing wife, this is when I kind of start cleaning, because I have about 12 minutes left on the meatballs and my water's not boiling yet. So I would typically clean right now. Maybe I'll preemptively just turn my little meatballs. Can't hurt. The big thing with cooking with that little pan is, unless you remember not to touch it with a glove, you'll burn your hand. Trial and error. I've done it a lot of times. But it's less mess to clean up, and it's just a lot easier to transfer it right in there. So I just turn them, and they have a beautiful little browning to them. This would be a time that I would probably add some, like a little bit of marinara to it, just to give the bottom a little bit of coating. Nothing's worse than like a really burned meatball. See, if you weren't thinking about it, you might touch that handle right now. Don't do it. Fucking hurts. And it's like the gift that keeps on giving. It just keeps getting worse the more water you put on it. So I have about 11 minutes left. I'm gonna put it back in. They're turned. The sauce is in. This is getting a little bit hotter. So, you know what? I'm gonna weigh my pasta. I've never done this before, so don't think I'm fancy. Okay. The actual serving size for your pasta is 2 ounces dry. 1/8 of a package is 2 ounces. I feel like 2 ounces is like the size of my pinky. Some bullshit. Has anyone just like taken half of it out and be like, oh yeah, that's normal? We've all been making pasta for a long time, and I'm still surprised how I never can measure exactly how much pasta I made. But we're gonna take this scale. My husband's an advocate about coffee. He's like a scientist when it comes to coffee. I can't figure out how to use anything. That's my problem. Did I turn it on? Okay, I think I turned it on. How many ounces is this? 51 grams. What the fuck does that mean? 51 grams. How many grams are an ounce? Well, this looks like enough. We did our job. 51, I'll Google it later. Okay, so I have 10 minutes left on my timer. Perfectly, I only need to cook this for 10 minutes. I always do it in half. I feel like it's easier to cook. Now that I'm seeing how little in there, I want to pull more out, but I think that's just the carb lover in me. Don't do it. Okay, maybe one more. I'm just gonna do one more. I gotta do it. So the salt in there, from my understanding, is gonna help them not clump together. But as soon as the pasta goes in, I mean, you probably have cooked pasta before, you want to just start giving it a little bit of, don't let it stick to that bottom. You don't want clumps, you know? You don't want it to be clumpy. 9 minutes left. Let's go. So this would be a good time. Getting strawberries ready for later. This would be a good time to get out. It's like everything happens at once. Get out your strainer. See, I'm in a small kitchen. I can find it wherever it's at. Strainer live. It's in the dishwasher. Do you ever feel like you use the same like 6 dishes over and over and over again? And it's like, why do I have nothing but these 6? I have all this other shit, like a stock pot, to boil lobster, which I never boil, you know? Anyways, yeah. So put this over here. That's going. I have about 8 minutes left. So the pasta needs to cook for 10. And the zoodles need to cook for about 1.5 minutes. It's always easier, like right as the pasta is about to get, it's a little bit al dente, like it's still like a touch hard. That's when I would put the zoodles in and just let them soften up. They soften up pretty quickly. So keep turning these. Again, good time to have another glass of wine or sip, depending on how big into wine you are. I always cook drinking Sauv Blanc and I always eat with eating red, but that's just me, you know. Someone told me to put oil in the pasta, but I feel like that's not necessary because I do oil after I cook the noodles. Full disclosure, I used to date a chef before my husband back in the day. He wasn't a very good guy, but he did teach me one thing that has always stuck with me. So when you are draining the pasta in the strainer, that is a really good time to throw in olive oil because it makes everything not stick together if that's like a huge problem for you or just OCD like me. I can't stand that. So you put olive oil and it coats all of the noodles. And so I do that. It adds extra calories, but it just gives like almost like a restaurant feel to like your dish. I love pasta. I also love tongs. I feel like I use tongs for almost every single meal, whether it's pasta, cookies, meatballs. I made a tofu dish last night and was using the tongs to turn them. Chicken, I'll do a chicken taco recipe. It's really good. Okay, 6 minutes left. Maybe a little dance party in the kitchen. Ole, 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 ole. Daddy! Yeah. Does anyone else have dogs that during this COVID, they're like, why the fuck are you here? Can you go back to work? I'm like, bitch, you need a job, not me. You need a job, Ted. I feel like he's becoming such an asshole. Anyhow. It's so nice to talk to someone, you know? I talked to my girlfriend Suze today, who's like a plant specialist. If you guys are ever in Fort Worth, she owns a comic book shop and succulent terrarium gift store. It's called Esmera. It's badass. Anyways, we were going through all of my plants today, telling me how to keep them happy and healthy. This is a Chinese money plant. Chinese money plant. Isn't she so cute? That's Rebecca. I also have air plants. And then I got this rubber plant over here. But like I'm just like the best at killing things. And this girl Suze is incredible at keeping not only everything alive, but everything vibrant. She was like, plants are alive. You don't think about how affected they get when they transfer locations. I was like, oh, that's true. Didn't really think about that. So I kill plants, but I'm trying not to because they just make me happy. Let's check on those meatballs. Yeah, they're probably good, but the worst is like when you take them out of the oven, you let them cook a little bit more on the stove and they're not done on the inside, like a raw meatball on the inside. That's why I personally like to bake them. Because there's not as many, I'll probably take them out. There's only 4 when you're cooking like 8 to 12 to 16. You might want to let them cook a little bit longer in there. Again, don't forget, that handle's gonna be hot, girl. Life hack, put your handle on the end so then you'll remember not to touch it. I think I've built calluses on my hand from grabbing them a little too early. Okay, so I'm gonna let that be on the stove now. Let's turn this a little bit. And I'll turn the stove on. I'm just gonna put it on a little low heat. Just let it cook up a little bit. Let's see here. Woo! Oh my god, all of that almost fell. Can you imagine? Actually, that'd be pretty funny. Oh, it smells good. I feel like the person who invents like a 10D camera where you can smell what the actual video smells like wherever they're at. $1 billion. Billionaire right away. It's the worst when you're watching a cooking show and they're like, oh my god, it smells so good. And you're like, yeah, bitch, I cannot smell it. Okay, whatever. Anyhow, turn the pasta just a little bit more. This would be a good time to do a taste test. Ooh, look at that curl. Look how cute she is. Yes. I did not curl my hair today. It's pretty rough. It might need another minute or so until we add the zucchini. It's getting there though. Okay, so we get the zucchini ready. Again, as little as much as you want to make. Just try a little bit at a time. I always try and sneak some in to my husband Nick. He doesn't really notice. Just like I always try and sneak in like sprouts into like salads and stuff like that. It's like I'm secretly anti-poisoning him. You know, it's a constant fight, whether it's kids, husband. I'll have a bottle of wine, but you know, I still gotta eat my greens. It's all about balance. Anyhow. This would be a good time if you want to add maybe a little bit more Italian seasoning. Again, verdict's still out if that's like appropriate or not. Haven't heard otherwise, but like if something was like American seasoning, would that be bad? Nigerian seasoning? I don't know. Who knows? We're going into the tough stuff right now. Okay, zoodle time. I don't know why these guys bring me so much joy. So plop them in. This is your fiber coming into play. And then you just kind of mix them in. Until I get a camera guy, you're gonna see my thumb. Sorry about that. So mixing them in. And you'll start seeing them soften up. These little guys are starting to get warmed up, so then you know the sauce is going to be hot enough. And now the countdown starts. It's the final countdown. 45 seconds left. I love my tongs, so I go back and forth between using the tongs between both. But you don't want to get marinara sauce in the pasta because then it's harder to clean the pasta pot. So I constantly am going back and washing it off when I know I could use two separate. But we all have our rituals. We all have our little things. So remember how I was having FOMO about not putting enough noodles in? Yeah, I know that's sad. But you know how you're just like, oh, it's not gonna be enough. I'm so hungry. I just rode my bike, you know? Yeah, that expanded by 2. So I'm not having that feeling anymore. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. This is when you test one of the zoodles. It should be soft enough. We'll test one of the regular noodles. Obviously, they're pretty easy to see which one's which, if you can get one out. Oh, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna transfer it to the sink now. And we're gonna do that trick that, it's funny how like someone could teach you someone, you can like date them and not even remember their name. I don't remember that guy's name. But this is what he did teach me. Grab the olive oil. And then, oh, you just toss it. You know, I love that. The tongs. Let the water drain out. And it's pretty much 50-50. One day I'll be 70-30. I'm gonna bowl out Using one of my little bowls. And okay. I can't believe I cooked with someone. Oh, well, I mean, it's really just me, but I just like recorded that. I'm always in here solo. I love cooking. I didn't like cooking until probably just recently. Recently as in like the last 4 to 5 years. So I'm gonna take 2 of the meatballs, put the sauce on top. We have about 6 meatballs for later. And then I'm gonna take the rest of that Parmesan and sprinkle it on top. So one of my favorite things to do is, and maybe this is pretty sad, but I'll make a dish. I'm like, okay, if I was to eat that at a restaurant, what would I actually pay? So that is our finished dish, steaming hot. When you eat it, especially if it's like 50-50 or less zoodles, you're just adding less carbs to those hips. We're gonna try this with mushrooms, just turkey, somewhat of a lighter way to eat spaghetti and meatballs. You still live your life, you know, but just like a little bit healthier. Thanks for watching my video. I'll be back soon with another recipe. Bye guys.